He said it was over. The outpost was falling, but 6 elite K9 handlers stayed behind, because beneath the rubble was a promise they refused to break. The 8th rocket of the day punched through the east wall of Outpost 7 Kilo at 16:47 hours. Concrete dust bloomed in the command center like a gray ghost. Through the static-filled speakers, General Taggart's voice cut cold and final. All units, immediate evacuation. Choppers inbound. 5 minutes. That is a direct order. 42 Delta Force operators had arsonally boarded the transport helicopters. Medical staff had packed their supplies into duffel bags and were sprinting toward the landing zone. The entire outpost was emptying like water through a broken dam, except for 6 people. The K9 unit stood in a loose circle around the hospital wing entrance, rifles at low ready, 6 Belgian Malinois panting beside their handlers. Nobody moving, nobody explaining. Captain Gaines sprinted across the compound, boots kicking up dust, face flushed red beneath his helmet. "Corporal Lowell, what the hell are you doing? That's a general officer ordering you to evacuate." Brennan Lowell was 24 years old, junior handler, 2 deployments, face covered in dust and sweat. He didn't look at the captain, just checked the magazine in his M4 carbine with practiced hands. His voice came out flat, empty of inflection. "Protocol 6 isn't complete, sir." "Protocol what?" Gaines stopped at 3 feet away, chest heaving. "I don't know any Protocol 6. This isn't on any—" "With respect, sir." Staff Sergeant Colette Reeves stepped forward, blocking the hospital wing doorway. Behind her, through the reinforced glass, a woman lay motionless on a hospital bed, intravenous lines snaking into both arms, breathing tubes secured with medical tape, bandages wrapped around her head like a crown. "You don't need to know." Gaines stared past Reeves into the room. Master Sergeant Kira Tennant, K9 Unit Commander, unconscious for 48 hours since the improvised explosive device beast on Highway 7. Her face was pale. Monitors beeped in steady rhythm. A ventilator hissed. "She can't give orders," Gaines said. "She's in a coma." "She already did, sir." Lowell's voice still flat. 6 months ago." Another rocket whistled overhead. The explosion rocked the north wall. Chunks of concrete rained down on the motor pool. Gaines grabbed his radio. "General Taggart, we have a situation." "K9 unit refuses to board," static crackled. Then Taggart's voice colder than before. "Then they can face court-martial when I get there. I'm inbound. 2 minutes." But none of the K9 unit moved. They stood like statues. 6 handlers, 6 dogs. A living wall in front of the hospital wing. Outside, Taliban rockets continued to rain down on the outpost. Inside, Tennant didn't wake. And somewhere beneath their feet, in the darkness under the compound, something waited to be finished. They were about to learn how wrong they'd been about the silent woman on that hospital bed. "Joe." The Black Hawk descended through dust and smoke at 16:53 hours. General Taggart stepped out before the skids touched ground. He was 58 years old. Delta Force. 3 stars on his collar, face like carved stone. He'd given orders in Fallujah, Mosul, Kandahar. Men obeyed when he spoke. He walked straight to the K9 unit, didn't slow down, didn't acknowledge Gaines's salute. "Corporal Lowell." Taggart stopped 5 feet away. His voice carried despite the helicopter noise. "Explain yourself." Lowell came to attention, rifle slung across his chest. His dog, a Malinois named Cisco, sat perfectly at his left heel. "Protocol 6, sir." "I didn't ask for a code name. I asked for an explanation." "That is the explanation, sir." Taggart's jaw tightened. He turned to Reeves. "Staff Sergeant, you're second in command of this unit. Tell me why you're disobeying a direct evacuation order." Reeves stood with her shoulders back, combat medic patch on her sleeve. Her dog, Athena, also a Malinois, watched Taggart with amber eyes. "We're not disobeying, sir. We're completing." "Completing what?" "Our mission, sir." "Your mission is to evacuate when ordered." "No, sir." This came from Sergeant First Class Fletcher Winslow, 38 years old, veterinarian, quiet until now. "Our mission is Protocol 6. Taggart looked at each of them in turn. Lowell, Reeves, Winslow, then Specialist Dashiell Pike, Tech Specialist 22, too young to have that kind of certainty in his eyes. Sergeant Nala Ibarra, Explosives Detection, 31, standing like she was rooted to the ground. And Private First Class Ember Corvin, 20 years old, newest member, clearly terrified but holding position. "Who gave you this Protocol 6, Taggart asked. Master Sergeant Tennant, sir. Lowell gestured toward the hospital wing. 6 months ago. Taggart walked to the window, looked at Tennant lying unconscious. Monitors, tubes, bandages. She's incapacitated. Yes, sir. So she can't modify or cancel this protocol. No, sir. And you won't tell me what it is. We can't, sir. Operational security. Taggart turned back. I am a 3-star general. I have operational security clearance for everything in this theater. Not for this, sir. Reeves's voice stayed level, respectful, immovable. The outpost shook. Another rocket. This one hit the west wall. Partial collapse. Dust billowed across the compound. Corbin flinched. Just a tiny movement, but she didn't break position. Her dog, a smaller Malinois named Scout, pressed against her leg. Taggart's voice went quieter, more dangerous. I will have every one of you court-martialed. Do you understand that? Understood, sir. Pike spoke for the first time. Baby face, steady eyes. You'll lose your careers. Yes, sir. Possibly face prison time. We know, sir. Taggart stared at them. 6 handlers who should be terrified, who should be scrambling to explain, who should be begging forgiveness. Instead, they stood like they were already dead and had made peace with it. He pulled out his radio. This is Taggart. I need... The hospital wing door opened. A Navy corpsman emerged, face pale. Sir, we need to evacuate Sergeant Tennant immediately. Her condition is... Negative. Reeves blocked his path. She doesn't move until Protocol 6 is complete. The corpsman looked at Taggart. Sir, she needs a trauma center. The brain swelling is... I heard you. Taggart's eyes never left Reeves. Staff Sergeant, you're preventing medical evacuation of a critically wounded soldier. I'm following her orders, sir. She's unconscious. The orders were given 6 months ago, sir. They don't expire. Taggart stepped closer, close enough that Reeves could see the veins in his temples. What the hell is Protocol 6? I can't tell you that, sir. Why not? Because you're not cleared for it, sir. The general's hand moved to his sidearm, not drawing it, just resting there. You're telling me that a master sergeant has clearance I don't have? I'm telling you, she gave us orders we're going to follow. Reeves didn't blink. Sir? If you're wondering how a K-9 unit could defy a 3-star general and survive to tell the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss what happens next. Hit that notification bell to stay updated on every new military story we release. And if you're enjoying this so far, give us a like and share this video to support our work. Now, let's get back to Outpost 7 Kilo, where General Taggart is about to make a decision that will change everything. Taggart pulled Gaines aside, away from the K-9 unit, behind a half-collapsed wall that used to be the communications building. How long have they been like this? Taggart kept his voice low. Since Tennant went down, sir, 48 hours. And before that, Gaines hesitated. Before that, they were normal, good unit, disciplined. Tennant ran them tight. Background on her? 8 years in service. Started as regular Army, transferred to K-9 after her second deployment, instructor at Lackland for 2 years, then requested field assignment. She's been here 18 months. 18 months. Taggart looked back at the hospital wing. What was she doing when the IED hit? Routine patrol, Highway 7. She was lead vehicle. With the full unit? No, sir. Just her and her dog. Handler named Cross was with her, but he was medevaced yesterday. Minor injuries. She was alone? Yes, sir. On Highway 7. Taggart's eyes narrowed. That road's been clear for 3 months. No IED activity. I know, sir. So, why was she patrolling it alone? Gaines had no answer. Taggart walked back to the K-9 unit. This time he addressed Winslow, the oldest one, the veterinarian. Sergeant, you've been in country longer than most of this unit. Tell me something useful. Winslow stood at parade rest. About what, sir? About Tennant. She's the best handler I've worked with, sir. That's not useful. That's opinion. It's also fact, sir. Another rocket, east wall again. The whole structure groaned. Somewhere in the compound, somebody shouted evacuation warnings. The perimeter was collapsing. Taggart pulled out Tennant's medical chart, scanned it. Traumatic brain injury, multiple contusions, possible spinal damage. She should be dead. Yes, sir. Winslow's voice stayed flat. But she's not. No, sir. Why? Don't know, sir. Maybe she's got something to finish. Taggart looked up from the chart. You mean Protocol 6? I mean what I mean, sir. The general closed the chart, handed it back to the corpsman. Then he turned to Lowell. Corporal, you're the junior handler here. You joined this unit when? 4 months ago, sir. 4 months. So, you've known Tennant for 4 months. Yes, sir. And in 4 months, she convinced you to disobey a general officer and risk court-martial. Lowell's jaw tightened. She didn't convince me of anything, sir. She just trained me. Trained you to disobey orders? Trained me to complete the mission, sir, no matter what. Even if it kills you? Even then, sir. Taggart studied the young corporal. Fresh face, old eyes. You remind me of someone. Sir? Never mind. Taggart keyed his radio. All remaining units, this is General Taggart. Final evacuation in 10 minutes. If you're not on a chopper, you're staying here when this outpost falls. That includes K9 unit. 10 minutes. Taggart out. He walked away. Gaines followed. Sir, are you really going to leave them? Watch me. But Gaines noticed something. Taggart kept looking back at the hospital wing, at Tennant lying unconscious, at the 6 handlers who wouldn't move. At 16:58 hours, a civilian appeared at the perimeter gate. Afghan male, late 50s. Traditional clothing, hands raised, no weapons visible. He walked straight through the dust and smoke like he owned the place. 2 Delta operators intercepted him. Weapons up. Stop. Identify yourself. The man kept walking. I am Hamid. I must see Sergeant Tennant. The outpost is evacuating. Turn around. No. Hamid's English was accented but clear. I wait for her. She promised. The operators looked at each other. One of them grabbed his radio. Captain Gaines, we've got a local national at the gate, requesting access to medical. Says Tennant made him a promise. Gaines appeared 30 seconds later, looked at Hamid. Sir, this facility is under attack. You need to leave. Where is Sergeant Tennant? That's classified. She promised me. Hamid's voice cracked. 6 families, safe passage. She promised. Gaines froze. What did you say? 6 families. She told me if something happened to her, I come here. Protocol 6. I come here and you finish. The captain grabbed his radio. General Taggart, you need to hear this. Taggart interrogated Hamid in what remained of the command center. Lowell stood nearby. So did Reeves and Pike. The rest of the K9 unit maintained position at the hospital wing. Explain Protocol 6, Taggart said. Hamid sat on an overturned crate, hands folded, patient despite the rockets falling outside. 6 families from my village. They helped Sergeant Tennant with information about Taliban, about weapons, about routes. For 2 years they help. She promised if Taliban found out, she would get them to safety. What kind of information? Locations, names, plans. My village is on the border. We see things. Taggart glanced at Lowell. The corporal's face showed nothing. And Tennant promised to extract these families if they were compromised? Yes. Did she file official reports on these informants? Hamid shook his head. She said official channels would take too long, too many questions. She said she would handle it herself. That's unauthorized. Taggart's voice went cold. She was running her own intelligence operation. She was keeping her word. Another rocket, closer this time. The ceiling rained dust on all of them. Taggart didn't flinch. Where are these 6 families now? Hamid met his eyes. Safe, waiting. Waiting where? For Sergeant Tennant to wake. She's in a coma. She might not wake. Then you finish. Hamid pointed at Lowell. He finish. She taught them. Protocol 6, you finish. Taggart turned to Lowell. Is that true? Did she teach you how to extract civilians? She taught us a lot of things, sir. Lowell's voice stayed neutral. Answer the question, Corporal. Yes, sir. She taught us extraction protocols. Why? She said we might need them someday. For unauthorized operations? She didn't call them unauthorized, sir. She called them necessary. Taggart's hand tightened on his sidearm. Do you understand what you're telling me? You're saying Tennant was running intelligence networks, making promises to foreign nationals, and training you to complete missions that weren't sanctioned by command. I'm saying she was keeping her word, sir. That's insubordination. Maybe, sir, but it's also honor. The general stared at him, then at Hamid, then at the wall where a map of the province hung, marked with positions and patrol routes. Tennant's handwriting covered the margins, notes, observations. Intelligence that should have been filed through proper channels. How many informants did she have? Taggart asked Hamid. 6 families, sir, maybe 30 people. And if we don't extract them, Taliban will kill them all. They already know. Why you think they attack this outpost? They know she hid them somewhere. They want to find them before you move them. Taggart went still. Say that again. Taliban attack here because they know Sergeant Tennant hide the families. They think you keep them in outpost. They want to kill everyone before anyone escape. The general turned to Gaines. Is that possible? Are we being targeted because of Tennant's unauthorized operation? Gaines pulled up attack pattern data on a tablet, studied it. His face went pale. Sir, the attack started 48 hours ago. Same time Tennant was hit by the IED. Before that, this outpost hadn't been hit in 6 weeks. Timing? IED blast occurred at 0630. First rocket hit the outpost at 0815. Attacks have been continuous since then. Targeting? Random at first, but in the last 12 hours they've been focusing on the western section. Near the... Gaines stopped. Near what? Near the hospital wing, sir. Taggart looked through the window at Tennant, still unconscious, still breathing. They're trying to kill her. Or prevent an evacuation, sir. Same thing. Taggart keyed his radio. All units, I need a perimeter reinforcement on the west wall. Focus all defensive fire on... He stopped. Because Specialist Pike had pulled out a laptop. Tennant's laptop. The one from her quarters. Sir, Pike said quietly, permission to show you something. What is it? I think you need to see it, sir. Taggart walked over, looked at the screen. It showed an encrypted lock screen, military-grade security. Can you access it? I can try, sir. Do it. Pike's fingers moved across the keyboard. Fast. Too fast for someone who should be struggling with encryption. Within 90 seconds, the lock screen dissolved. Taggart's eyes narrowed. How did you do that? She taught me, sir. Tennant taught you to break military encryption? She taught me to access her files, sir, in case something happened to her. When? 4 months ago, when I joined the unit. Taggart looked at Lowell. Did she teach all of you? Different things, sir. Lowell got decryption training. I got computer access. Reeves got medical protocols. Winslow got tactical planning. Ibarra got demolitions theory. Corvin got communications. She was training you to operate without her. She was training us to finish Protocol 6, sir. The laptop screen filled with files, hundreds of them, all encrypted with different security levels. Pike opened the first folder. Maps appeared. Detailed topographical maps of the area around Outpost 7 Kilo, but these weren't standard military maps. Someone had hand-drawn additional features, tunnels, underground passages, storage areas. What am I looking at? Taggart leaned closer. I don't know yet, sir. I'm just starting the decryption. Another file opened. Supply manifests. Medical supplies, food, water, blankets, batteries, all marked with dates going back 6 months, none of them matching official requisition logs. Gaines compared them to his own records. Sir, these supplies aren't accounted for in our inventory system. Where did they go? I have no idea. Lowell spoke up. She was stockpiling. For what? For Protocol 6, sir. Taggart felt something cold settle in his stomach. He looked at the maps again, at the tunnels, at the storage areas, at the supply manifests, at 6 months of preparation that nobody had noticed. She built something, he said slowly. Didn't she? Nobody answered. Another rocket hit. This one brought down part of the east wall. Dust exploded through the command center. Hamid didn't move from his crate. The K-9 unit didn't abandon their posts, and Tennant kept breathing in the hospital wing, unconscious and silent. Taggart pulled up the most recent file. It was a video, dated 2 years ago. Location, Marketplace in Lashkar Gah. He pressed play. The footage was shaky, probably from a body camera. It showed Tennant in civilian clothes, moving through a crowded market. Her hair was longer then, no visible weapons. She stopped at a fruit stand. An Afghan man approached, early 40s. He picked up an apple, examined it, set it down, picked up another. While his hands moved, his lips barely moved. Taliban moving weapons shipment tonight. 3 trucks, taking Highway 7 to Pakistan. But, please, Sergeant, my daughter, if something happens to me... The video cut off. Taggart looked at Hamid. Who was that man? Hamid's voice broke. My brother, Ahmed. Where is he now? Dead. 2 years ago. Suicide bomber in Lashkar Gah. He stepped between bomber and sergeant Tennant. Saved her life, died saving American soldier. And his daughter? Marwa, 8 years old. She is one of the 6 families. My responsibility now. Taggart's jaw clenched. He looked at the frozen frame of the video. At the man who'd given intelligence and then given his life. Tennant promised him, yes. Before he died. Yes. And now she's keeping that promise even though she's unconscious. Hamid nodded. She keeps all promises. That is why we trust her. Another file opened on Pike's laptop. This one was a text document, a list of names, 6 families, 37 individuals, ages, medical conditions, special needs, children, elders, all documented with the kind of detail that took months to compile. Below the list, a single line of text. I owe them. We all do. Complete the mission. It was signed, MSG K. Tennant. Taggart read it 3 times. Then he looked at Lowell. She knew she might not survive. We all know that, sir, every day. But she planned for it anyway. She planned for everything, sir. The general walked to the window, looked out at the compound, at the collapsing walls, at the helicopters waiting, at the 6 handlers who wouldn't leave their post. How long has this unit known about Protocol 6? Since we joined, sir, Lowell said. She briefed each of us individually, told us what might be required, asked if we were willing. We all said yes, even though it meant disobeying orders. She never said we'd disobey orders, sir. She said we might have to choose between orders and honor. She left the choice to us. Taggart turned back. And you chose. We chose to keep her promise, sir. Another explosion. The building shook. Somewhere close, someone screamed an evacuation warning. The outpost was dying. Taggart made a decision. Pike, show me everything in that laptop. Every file, every map, every supply manifest. I want to know exactly what Tennant built. Yes, sir. Lowell, you're going to decrypt the rest of her files. Whatever security clearance you think I don't have, you're going to ignore. Understood? Yes, sir. Reeves, I need a medical assessment on Tennant. Can she be moved? Reeves didn't hesitate. She can be moved, sir, but it might kill her. And if we stay here, the outpost collapsing might kill her too, sir. So she dies either way. Maybe, sir. Unless we finish Protocol 6 first. Taggart looked at her, really looked. Saw something in her eyes that reminded him of every soldier he'd ever respected. Certainty, purpose, the kind of loyalty that couldn't be ordered into existence. How much time do you need? He asked. Don't know, sir. Depends on what Protocol 6 actually requires. Then let's find out. He turned to Gaines. Captain, I need you to hold this outpost for another hour. Can you do that? Gaines swallowed hard. Sir, the structure is failing. We have maybe 30 minutes before the west wall comes down completely. Then we work fast. Taggart keyed his radio. All units, this is General Taggart. Delay evacuation. We have 1 hour to complete a mission. Hold the perimeter. Taggart out. The radio erupted with questions, objections, concerns. He ignored all of them. Pike kept working on the laptop. File after file opened. More maps, more manifests. Then something different. A construction diagram, hand-drawn, detailed, showing underground chambers, support structures, ventilation systems, access points. Taggart stared at it. She dug something. Looks like it, sir. Under the outpost. Yes, sir. Without anyone noticing. Apparently, sir. For 6 months. Pike nodded. The manifests show she requisitioned tools, cement, wood, ventilation, equipment, all through legitimate channels but listed as maintenance supplies for the kennels. The kennels? Yes, sir. She was expanding the K9 facilities. That was the official reason. But these diagrams... He zoomed in on the construction plans. These show something much larger than kennels, sir. Taggart felt the pieces falling into place. The unauthorized intelligence network, the promises to informants, the stockpiled supplies, the training of her unit, the construction project hidden as facility maintenance. She built a refuge, he said quietly. Sir? An underground refuge, for the families. She's been hiding them beneath this outpost for... He checked the dates on the construction diagrams. For 3 months. Lowell's voice came from behind him. That's where they are, the 6 families. They're underneath us right now. Taggart spun around. You knew? Not for certain, sir, but I suspected. The dogs kept alerting to something below the kennels. Tenant said it was just ground instability, told us to ignore it. But you didn't. No, sir. I watched. I noticed things. The way she moved. The way she scheduled kennel maintenance always during overnight hours. The way certain areas of the compound were always off limits during specific times. And you didn't report it. She's my commander, sir. I trusted her. Another rocket. This one hit the ammunition storage. Secondary explosions rippled through the compound. Fire blossomed into the sky. The evacuation warnings got more urgent. Taggart made another decision. Pike, find me the access point. Show me how to get to these chambers. Pike scrolled through files, stopped on one. Here, sir. Access tunnel. Entrance is in the hospital wing. The hospital wing. Yes, sir. Under the floor. Hidden by medical equipment. Taggart looked at the window, at Tennant lying unconscious, at the 6 handlers standing guard around the building. She put the entrance under herself. Looks that way, sir. So, if anyone tried to access it, they'd have to go through her first. Or through us, sir, Lowell said quietly. The general understood now, understood why the K9 unit wouldn't leave, why they stood guard even when their commander was unconscious, why they'd risk court-martial and death. They weren't guarding Tennant. They were guarding what she'd built, what she'd promised, what 37 Afghan civilians were depending on for survival. How do we access the tunnel? Taggart asked. Pike pulled up another file. Floor plans, the hospital wing. There's a section of tile near the south wall. It lifts up. Underneath is a shaft with a ladder. Goes down about 20 feet. Security? Don't know, sir, but if Tennant built it, it's probably secured. Then we'll need someone who knows the security system. All eyes turned to the hospital wing, to the unconscious woman who held all the answers and couldn't give them. Taggart keyed his radio. Reeves, I need Tennant awake. Is that possible? Static. Then Reeves's voice, tight with concern. Sir, she has a traumatic brain injury. Forcing her awake could cause permanent damage, or death. And if I don't, 37 civilians die along with this entire outpost. Silence on the radio. Then, I'll see what I can do, sir. Reeves worked on Tennant in the hospital wing while Taggart, Lowell, and Pike examined the floor. They found the section Pike had identified. Loose tiles. Underneath, a metal plate. Underneath that, darkness. Taggart pulled up the metal plate. Cold air rushed out. The smell of concrete and earth. He shined a flashlight down. 20 feet, maybe more. A ladder bolted to the wall. At the bottom, a metal door. Locked? Gaines asked. Has to be. Taggart looked at Pike. Any codes in those files? Looking, sir. Behind them, in the hospital wing, Reeves administered something to Tennant through her IV line. The monitors started beeping faster. Tennant's eyes moved beneath closed lids. Her fingers twitched. She's fighting it, Reeves said into her radio. Sir, I don't know if... Tennant's eyes opened. Not fully. Just slits. Unfocused. She tried to speak around the breathing tube. Couldn't. Her hand moved toward it. Reeves caught her wrist. Easy. You're intubated. Don't fight it. Tennant's eyes rolled, found Reeves's face. Recognition flashed. Then confusion. Then something else. Panic. She tried to sit up. Couldn't. Tried to pull the tube out. Reeves held her down. Sergeant Tennant, Kira, listen to me. You're at Outpost 7 Kilo. You've been unconscious for 48 hours. IED blast. Do you understand? Tennant stopped fighting. Her eyes cleared slightly. She nodded. Good. Now, I need you to stay calm. We have a situation. General Taggart is here. He needs access to Protocol 6. Can you help us? Tennant's eyes went wide. She tried to shake her head. Couldn't. Tried to speak. Couldn't. Her hand moved in small gestures, signing something. Reeves looked at Lowell through the window. Do you know sign language? Some, ma'am. She taught us basics. Get in here. Lowell entered the hospital wing, knelt beside the bed. Tennant's hand moved again. Slow, deliberate. Letters spelled out in the American Sign Language. C-O-D-E. She's giving us the code, Lowell said. Tennant's fingers continued. 7, 2, 8, 4, 9, 1. Lowell memorized it. Got it. Tennant's hand dropped. Her eyes started to close again. Reeves checked the monitors. She's crashing. I need to sedate her before... But Tennant's hand shot up again, grabbed Lowell's wrist. Her grip was weak, but urgent. Her eyes locked on his. She mouthed something around the breathing tube. Lowell leaned closer. What? I can't. She mouthed it again. 3 words. He read her lips. His face went pale. What did she say? Reeves demanded. Lowell stood up, walked out of the hospital wing. His hands were shaking. Sir, she gave us the code. 728491. Good. What else? She said, Lowell's voice cracked. She said, don't let them see. Don't let who see what? I think she means the families, sir. Don't let them see what she built. Taggart descended the ladder. Lowell followed. At the bottom, they found the metal door. A keypad glowed in the darkness. Taggart punched in the code, 728491. The lock clicked open. Taggart pushed the door inward. What he saw made him stop breathing. The chamber was huge, hand-dug, walls shored up with concrete and wood, LED lights strung along the ceilings casting white light over everything, medical supplies stacked in corners, food, water, blankets, toys for children, and people, 37 of them, 6 families, women in headscarves, men with weathered faces, children of all ages, elders sitting on makeshift beds, all of them looking up as the door opened, all of them silent, afraid, hopeful. Against the far wall, an 8-year-old girl sat holding a pair of dog tags. The name stamped into the metal read, Tenant. Surrounding her were drawings, children's drawings taped to the concrete, stick figures, a female soldier with a dog, protecting stick figure families from stick figure enemies. In every single drawing, the soldier stood between the families and danger. Taggart stood in the entrance, Lowell beside him. Neither man moved. Finally, the girl with the dog tag stood up, walked over, looked up at Taggart with dark eyes that had seen too much. Where is Sergeant Kira? She asked in careful English. Taggart had no answer. The girl's lower lip trembled. She promised. She said she'd come back. She promised. Behind them, on the surface, another rocket hit the outpost. The entire underground chamber shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Children whimpered. Mothers pulled them close. Taggart knelt down, eye level with the girl. What's your name? Marwa. Marwa, I'm General Taggart. Sergeant Tennant is hurt, but she sent us to finish her promise. Do you understand? Marwa looked at him, then at Lowell, then back at the dog tags in her hand. She wake? I don't know. She has to wake. She promised. Another explosion. Closer. The lights flickered. Taggart stood up, looked at the 37 people hiding in a chamber beneath a collapsing outpost. At 6 months of work, at a promise made to a dying man 2 years ago, at the kind of commitment that didn't show up in military regulations. He keyed his radio. All units, this is Taggart. We have civilians in the underground chambers. 37 individuals. Prepare for extraction. We're bringing them up. Static. Then a voice he didn't recognize. Male. Accented. Not American. No, General, you're not. Taggart froze. Who is this? This is someone who knows what you're hiding. We've been watching. We know about the informants, we know about the tunnel, and we know that Sergeant Tennant is incapacitated. Identify yourself. I am the reason those families are hiding, General. I am the reason they will die. Taliban. Taggart's blood went cold. You're targeting this outpost because of them. We're targeting this outpost because of her, because she made promises she cannot keep, because she built something in secret, because she thinks she can protect traitors. They're civilians. They're collaborators. They gave information to Americans. They helped kill our brothers, and now they will pay. Another rocket hit. The chamber shook violently. A support beam cracked. Women screamed. Children cried. You have 10 minutes, General, the Taliban voice said. Then we collapse that outpost on top of everyone. Your soldiers, your helicopters, and especially those 37 traitors hiding underground. 10 minutes. Choose wisely. The radio went dead. Taggart looked at Lowell, at Marwa, at the families pressed against the walls, at the drawings of a soldier who stood between them and death. Get them out, he said quietly. Sir, get them out, all of them. We have 10 minutes. Lowell grabbed his radio. K9 unit, this is Lowell. Protocol 6 is active. We need immediate extraction. 37 civilians. Location is underground chamber accessed through hospital wing. Move now. The unit responded instantly, not with questions, not with hesitation. They moved. Reeves appeared at the tunnel entrance within 90 seconds. Then Winslow, then Pike, then Ibarra, then Corvin, all of them descending into the chamber, all of them seeing what Tennant had built. None of them looked surprised. You knew, Taggart said. "We suspected, sir," Reeves replied. "She trained us for this. We just didn't know when it would happen, or if she'd be here to lead it. She's still leading it, sir." Reeves gestured at the civilians already lining up. Following procedures they had obviously practiced. She planned every detail, even her own absence. The extraction began, children first, then elders, then the able-bodied adults, one at a time up the ladder, one at a time through the hospital wing, one at a time toward the helicopters. But the outpost was collapsing faster now. Rockets every 30 seconds. The west wall was gone. The north wall was failing. Fire spread from the ammunition storage. 7 minutes left. Halfway through the extraction, Pike's laptop beeped. Another file had decrypted. He opened it. His face went white. "Sir, you need to see this." Taggart looked at the screen. It showed a detailed analysis. Not of the tunnel, not of the chamber, of the attack pattern on the outpost. Tennant had predicted it 3 weeks ago. She'd documented the exact timing, the exact targeting, the exact escalation pattern the Taliban would use. She'd known they would discover the families, known they would attack, known she might not be there to lead the extraction. She'd planned for all of it. At the bottom of the file, a single sentence. "They will threaten to collapse the outpost. They will give you 10 minutes. Don't believe them. You have 6. Taggart checked his watch. 3 minutes had passed since the Taliban radio call. 3 minutes left, not 10. "Move faster," he shouted. "We have 3 minutes, not 10. The extraction accelerated. Dogs helped herd children. Handlers carried elders. Everyone moved with urgent efficiency. 2 minutes left. 23 civilians still underground. 1 minute left. 11 civilians still underground. 30 seconds. Marwa was third from last. She climbed the ladder with the dog tags clutched in her hand. At the top, she looked back down at Taggart still in the chamber. "General," Lowell's voice from above, "we need to move. Go, get them to the choppers. Sir, you need to—" The explosion was different, not a rocket, something bigger. The entire outpost shifted. Concrete groaned. Metal screamed. They were collapsing the structure deliberately. Controlled demolition. 10 seconds. Taggart pushed the last 2 civilians toward the ladder. "Climb, now!" They climbed. He followed. Halfway up, the ladder shook. Bolts tore free from the concrete. The shaft started to collapse. He climbed faster. Hands grabbed him from above, pulled him through. The metal plate slammed down. Below, the chamber imploded with a sound like the world ending. Taggart rolled to his feet in the hospital wing. Tennant still lay on the bed, unconscious, monitors still beeping. The corpsman was disconnecting her from the equipment, preparing to move her. "All units, status," Taggart shouted into his radio. "Delta team clear. Medical clear. K9 unit clear. All civilians loaded. Choppers lifting off." Taggart grabbed Tennant's gurney, helped the corpsman push it toward the door. Behind them, the hospital wing wall cracked. Ceiling tiles fell. The building was dying. They ran. Across the compound, through smoke and dust. Toward the last helicopter, its rotors already spinning. Door gunner waving them forward, 20 meters. The west wall collapsed completely. Concrete and steel fell like an avalanche, 10 meters. Rockets hit the fuel storage. Fireball erupted into the sky, 5 meters. Taggart and the corpsman lifted Tennant's gurney into the helicopter, jumped in after it. The chopper lifted before they even sat down. Below them, Outpost 7 Kilo died. Walls fell, buildings collapsed. Everything Tennant had built, both visible and hidden, disappeared into rubble and fire. But 37 civilians were in the air, safe, alive, because a master sergeant who was unconscious had made a promise 2 years ago and had spent 6 months ensuring it would be kept, even if she wasn't there to keep it herself. Taggart looked at Tennant as the helicopter climbed. She lay still, eyes closed, breathing steady. The monitors showed weak but stable vitals. In her hand, placed there by someone during the chaos, were dog tags, the ones Marwa had been holding, the ones with Tennant stamped into the metal. And on the back of the tags, scratched in by hand, new words, in Pashto. Taggart didn't read the language, but Hamid was sitting nearby. The old man saw Taggart looking. "What does it say?" Taggart asked. Hamid translated, voice thick. "It says, she keeps her promises." The helicopter flew toward safety. Behind them, the outpost burned. Ahead of them, questions multiplied. How many protocols did Tenet have? How many promises? How many families? And why had she operated in secret? Why not go through proper channels? Why risk everything? Taggart looked at the laptop Pike had saved, at the files still encrypted, at the mysteries still hidden. They'd completed Protocol 6, but Lowell had found Protocol 7, Protocol 8, Protocol 15. How many more were there, and what would it cost to complete them? The helicopter crossed into friendly airspace. Medical personnel waited at the forward operating base. Intelligence officers prepared to debrief everyone. CIA wanted answers, but Tenet still slept, silent, unconscious, holding secrets that 37 people had trusted with their lives. And somewhere in the encrypted files, more promises waited to be kept, more families waited to be saved, more protocols waited to be executed. The general looked at the unconscious master sergeant and realized something that made his chest tight. She hadn't been running an unauthorized operation. She'd been running a war that command refused to fight, a war for the people who had risked everything to help them, a war she'd known she might not survive, a war she'd trained her unit to finish without her, and she'd won it while unconscious. The helicopter descended toward the base. Medical teams rushed forward, but before they could take Tenet away, Taggart did something he almost never did. He saluted, not to the rank, not to the uniform, to the promise, to the system, to the silent commitment that had saved 37 lives. Lowell saw it. So did the rest of the K-9 unit. They came to attention. They saluted too. And in that moment, before the questions began, before the investigations started, before the consequences came down, in that moment, they understood what Tenet had built. Not just a tunnel, not just a refuge, a legacy. One that would outlast her presence, one that would survive her absence, one that would continue whether she woke or not, because she had embedded it in her team, in their training, in their loyalty, in the promise that some things mattered more than orders. Some things were worth risking everything. Some things had to be finished no matter what. The medical team took Tenet away. The K-9 unit was separated for debriefing. Taggart was pulled into meetings with intelligence. But before all that began, Lowell managed to access Tenet's laptop one last time. He found a file marked, "Read only if Protocol 6 complete." He opened it. Inside was a single paragraph. "If you're reading this, it means you finished what I started. It means you chose honor over orders. It means you understood that some promises can't be broken, even by death. Protocol 7 is in Syria. 14 families, same situation, same risk, same promise. The choice is yours. I won't be there to make it for you, but I trained you to make the right one, complete the mission. K. Tenet." Below that, coordinates, contact information, resources, everything they'd need to save 14 more families, everything they'd need to continue a war their unconscious commander couldn't fight. Lowell stared at the screen, then he closed the laptop. Because some questions couldn't be answered yet, some choices couldn't be made in a moment. Some legacies took time to understand, but one thing was certain. Protocol 6 was complete, and 37 people were alive because a woman who was silent had spoken through her actions, had built systems that outlasted her consciousness, had made promises that others would keep. The helicopter door closed, the rotors spun, the base disappeared below them, and Tenet slept on, holding dog tags that proved she'd kept her word, even when she couldn't speak it, even when she couldn't fight for it. Even when she couldn't lead it, she'd found a way. And that way was still working, still saving lives, still keeping promises, still fighting a war that command didn't know existed. Until now. The forward operating base at Kandahar received them with controlled chaos. Medical teams swarmed Tenet's gurney before the helicopter fully landed. Trauma doctors, neurologists, equipment that beeped and hissed and monitored every failing system in her body. She was gone within 90 seconds. Wheels on concrete, automatic doors, fluorescent lights. The K-9 unit watched her disappear into the medical facility and knew they might never see her conscious again. Taggart didn't watch. He was already moving toward the command building, where 3 colonels, 2 CIA officers, and a State Department liaison were waiting. Their faces showed the kind of anger that came from being kept in the dark. The 37 Afghan civilians were separated immediately. Different building, armed guards, not prisoners, but not free either. Translators were summoned, background checks initiated. Every person would be questioned about how they'd ended up in an underground chamber beneath a forward operating base. Hamid was taken first. The old man went quietly, still holding the photograph of his brother Ahmed, the one who died saving Tennant 2 years ago. Lowell and the rest of the K-9 unit were escorted to a briefing room. Not under arrest, not yet. But 4 military police stood outside the door. The message was clear. Wait, answer questions, face consequences. Pike still had Tennant's laptop. An intelligence officer tried to take it. Pike refused. "Sir, this is classified material related to—" "It's evidence," Pike said quietly. "In whatever investigation you're about to start. I'm maintaining chain of custody." The officer looked at Taggart. The general nodded. "Let him keep it, for now." They waited in silence. 6 handlers, 6 dogs. Nobody spoke. There was nothing to say that wouldn't sound like justification or excuse. They'd made their choice at Outpost 7 Kilo. Now they'd live with it. 47 minutes later, Taggart emerged from the command building. His face was unreadable. He walked to the briefing room, dismissed the MPs, closed the door. "You're not under arrest," he said. "Yet." Reeves stood. "Sir, if charges are being filed, they should be filed against me. I'm second in command. The decision to stay was mine." "No, ma'am." Lowell stood too. "I decrypted the files. I accessed classified material. The decision was mine." "Sit down, both of you." Taggart's voice cut through the room. They sat. "The decision was Tennant's. 6 months ago. You just executed it. That's the problem." He placed a folder on the table. Classified markings, red stamps. CIA flagged Tennant 6 weeks ago. Unauthorized contact with foreign nationals. Diversion of military resources. Construction without permits. Intelligence gathering outside official channels. The list goes on. "She was keeping her promise, sir," Winslow said. "I know that. You know that. Those 37 civilians know that. But Washington doesn't care about promises. They care about chain of command, about proper channels, about international incidents that could blow up in their faces." Taggart opened the folder, pulled out a single sheet. "This is a preliminary order. Pending investigation, all members of K-9 unit are suspended from active duty. You're confined to base. No communication with civilians, no access to classified materials, and absolutely no contact with Tennant." Nobody moved. "Sir," Corbin spoke for the first time since the extraction. Her voice was small, young. "Is she going to die?" Taggart's face softened for just a moment. "I don't know. The doctors are working on her. Brain swelling is down, but she hasn't woken up. Even when they removed the breathing tube. Can we see her?" "No." "Sir?" "No. The investigation is ongoing. Any contact could be construed as coordination, witness tampering. I won't give them that ammunition." He pulled out more documents, spread them across the table. Maps, supply manifests, construction diagrams, all from Tennant's laptop. "Pike, I need you to decrypt everything, every file, every folder, every hidden partition. Can you do that?" "Yes, sir, but it'll take time. She layered the security pretty deep." "How long?" "Days, maybe the weeks." "You have 48 hours. Pike's eyes widened. "Sir, that's not—" 48 hours. Because in 48 hours, a congressional oversight committee arrives. They want answers. They want someone to blame. And right now, the only person who can provide context is unconscious in a hospital bed. Taggart gathered the documents. "The CIA wants to classify this whole incident. Bury it. Pretend Outpost 7 Kilo fell because of Taliban rockets, not because a master sergeant ran an unauthorized refugee operation. They want those civilians disappeared into the system. They want you court-martialed quietly. And they want Tennant's name erased." "Can they do that?" Reeves asked. "They can try, but I won't let them. Not without a fight." Taggart moved toward the door, stopped. "Tennant saved 37 lives. She did it while unconscious. She did it by training you to finish what she started. That means something. I'm going to make sure it counts for something." He left. The K-9 unit sat in silence. Finally, Lowell spoke. "Pike, can you really decrypt everything in 48 hours?" Pike opened the laptop, stared at the screen. "Not alone." "Then we help." "You heard Taggart. We're suspended, confined." "He said no contact with civilians. He didn't say we couldn't work on the laptop." Lowell pulled his chair closer. "She trained us for this, not just Protocol 6, for all of it." "Show me what you need." Pike hesitated. Then he turned the laptop so everyone could see. Okay, here's what we're looking at. The screen showed a directory structure, hundreds of folders, all encrypted with different security levels. Protocol 6 was there, but so were Protocol 7 through Protocol 23. 17 more operations, 17 more promises. Holy cow, Ibarra whispered. Winslow leaned forward. How many families total? Pike calculated quickly. If each protocol averages 6 families like Protocol 6 did, we're looking at somewhere between 100 and 150 families, maybe more. That's not possible, Corvin said. One person couldn't. She had help, Reeves interrupted. She was staring at another folder, one labeled Ghost Shepherd Network. Look at this. Pike opened it. Inside were profiles. 8 names, all military, all stationed in different locations across Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria, all running similar operations to tenants. She wasn't alone, Reeves said quietly. She was part of a network. And an unauthorized network, Lowell added, operating across 3 countries. For how long? Pike found a date stamp. First entry is from 4 years ago. Syria. Protocol 1. 4 years? She's been doing this for 4 years. They stared at the screen, at the scope of what Tenet had built. Not just one refuge, not just one promise. An entire system. A shadow operation running parallel to official military channels. Saving people who had helped them. People who had been promised protection and then abandoned by bureaucracy. We need to decrypt all of it, Lowell said, before the CIA buries it. They worked through the night. Pike taught them what Tenet had taught him. Encryption patterns, security protocols, bypass methods. Each of them took folders. Each of them dug deeper. By dawn, they'd unlocked 40% of the files. By noon, 60%. By 1800 hours, they'd cracked everything except one folder, the deepest one, the most heavily encrypted, labeled simply cost. Pike tried everything. Nothing worked. I don't know the code. Tenet never taught me this level. What's in it? Winslow asked. Don't know. Could be anything. Financial records, casualty reports, evidence of... Pike stopped. Evidence of what? Evidence of why she kept it secret. They stared at the folder, at the lock they couldn't break, at the truth they couldn't access. At 2200 hours, a medical officer entered the briefing room. Captain Rodriguez, trauma surgeon. His face was exhausted. She's awake. Everyone stood. For how long? Reeves asked. 3 minutes, then she crashed again. But she was lucid, aware. She tried to speak. What did she say? Rodriguez pulled out a small notepad. She couldn't talk, vocal cords still damaged from the breathing tube, but she wrote something, one word. He showed them the notepad, in shaky handwriting, cost. That's the folder, Pike said, the one we can't decrypt. She wants us to open it. But we don't have the code. Rodriguez flipped the page. She wrote something else before she lost consciousness again. Numbers, 8 digits, written in the same shaky hand. Pike entered them into the laptop. The cost folder unlocked. Inside were medical records, not for the refugees, for the operators. The 8 people running the Ghost Shepherd network. 3 of them were dead, killed in action, not during official operations, during unauthorized extractions, during promises kept. 2 were in military prisons, court-martialed, convicted of treason for helping foreign nationals. 1 was discharged dishonorably, living in a homeless shelter in Virginia. 1 was missing, presumed captured by Taliban. And Tenet. Status, critical. Prognosis, unknown. Below the medical records were financial documents. Tenet's personal accounts, drained. Every dollar spent on supplies, bribes, transport. She'd bankrupted herself funding Protocol 6. There were legal documents, restraining orders against her, cease and desist letters, official warnings from command, all ignored. There were photographs, refugees who had made it to safety, children smiling, families whole, thank you notes written in broken English, and there was a video, dated 1 week ago, before the IED blast. Lowell clicked it. Tenet appeared on screen, sitting in her quarters at Outpost 7 Kilo, face drawn, eyes tired. She looked directly at the camera. If you're watching this, I'm either dead or unable to complete the mission. Her voice was hoarse, strained. The cost folder contains everything you need to understand why I did this, why I kept it secret, why I couldn't go through official channels. She paused. took a breath. 3 of our network are dead. 2 are in prison. 1 is dishonorably discharged. 1 is missing. I will probably join them soon. That's the cost of keeping promises that bureaucracy won't honor. Another pause, longer. The CIA wants to shut us down. Command wants us court-martialed. Politicians want us disappeared because we make them uncomfortable, because we remind them that we made promises to people who helped us, people who trusted us, people who risked everything because we said we'd protect them. She looked away from the camera, out a window, at something they couldn't see. I don't regret it. Not the money, not the career, not the consequences. I regret that I couldn't save more, that I couldn't finish all the protocols before. She trailed off. When she looked back, her eyes were wet. If you're my unit, if you're watching this, you have a choice. You can walk away, report what you found, cooperate with the investigation, save your careers, or you can finish what we started, complete the protocols, save the families, face the same consequences I'm facing. She leaned closer to the camera. I trained you for this choice, not because I wanted to ruin your lives, but because some things are worth ruining your life for. Some promises can't be broken just because keeping them is illegal. The video cut to black, then it continued. Tennant was standing now, packing supplies, moving with purpose. Protocol 7 is in Syria, 14 families. Contact is a school teacher named Yasmin. She has intel on ISIS movements. She's been waiting for extraction for 8 months. Command denied the request, said it wasn't a priority, but I promised her, so it's a priority. She sealed a box, labeled it. Protocol 8 is in Iraq, 9 families. Contact is a translator who worked with us in Mosul. Taliban put a price on his head, $40,000. Official channels said they couldn't help, but I can. More packing, more boxes. Protocol 9 through 23, same story. Promises made, bureaucracy failed, people waiting, people dying. She stopped, looked at the camera one last time. I know this is wrong by the book. I know I'm violating every regulation. I know I'm asking you to do the same. But I also know that if we don't, those families die, and I can't live with that. She picked up her rifle. Checked it. So, I'm finishing this, with or without authorization, with or without support, with or without survival. She moved toward the door, stopped. If you choose to continue, the codes are in the system. The contacts are established. The resources are hidden. Everything you need. If you choose to walk away, I understand. You don't owe me anything. Her hand reached for the camera. But you might owe them something. The people who saved your life. The people who gave you intel that prevented attacks. The people who trusted us when we said we'd protect them. The screen went black. The briefing room was silent. Lowell looked at the others, at Reeves, at Winslow, at Pike, at Ibarra, at Corvin. She gave us a choice, he said quietly. She gave us a mission, Reeves corrected. A mission that could destroy our careers. Our careers are already destroyed. We stayed at Outpost 7 Kilo. We executed an unauthorized operation. We're already facing court-martial. Winslow stood. The only question is what we do with the time we have left before they lock us up. Pike closed the laptop. Taggart said 48 hours. That's 48 hours to decrypt everything, to document everything, to make sure that even if they bury us, they can't bury what Tennant built. And then what? Then we face the consequences. They worked for 37 more hours, straight through, no sleep, minimal food, just 6 handlers and 6 dogs in a briefing room, unlocking secrets that could save lives or destroy careers. By hour 47, they had it all, every protocol, every family, every contact, every resource, every hidden account, every bribe paid, every regulation violated. The scope was staggering. Tennant hadn't just run one operation. She'd built an entire underground railroad, moving refugees who had helped coalition forces. From Afghanistan to Pakistan, from Iraq to Jordan, from Syria to Turkey, hundreds of people, thousands of promises. And she'd done it while teaching K-9 handling, while running official patrols, while filing reports that said nothing about what she was really doing. At hour 48, Taggart returned. With him were 2 colonels, 3 CIA officers, a JAG lawyer, and a State Department official. They took the laptop. They took the documents. They took the external drives where everything had been backed up. Then they took the K-9 unit into separate interrogation rooms. The questions lasted for hours, days, Each member was asked the same things in different ways. What did you know? When did you know it? Did Tennant order you to violate regulations? Did you participate willingly? Would you do it again? Lowell answered every question honestly. Yes, he knew. Yes, he participated. Yes, he'd do it again. So did the others. The investigators didn't know what to do with that. With soldiers who confessed to violations but showed no remorse, who admitted to insubordination but defended their actions, who faced court-martial but would make the same choices. On day 6, the Congressional Oversight Committee arrived. They reviewed the evidence, interviewed the refugees, examined Tennant's network. On day 9, they released their findings. The Ghost Shepherd network was unauthorized, illegal, a violation of international law, military regulations, and diplomatic protocols. It had also saved 423 lives. 423 people who'd provided intelligence to coalition forces, who'd risked their families to help end terrorism, who'd been promised protection and then abandoned by systems that moved too slow or cared too little. The committee was split. Half wanted criminal prosecution, half wanted medals. The compromise was bureaucratic, clinical, cold. The Ghost Shepherd network would be shut down immediately. All remaining protocols would be transferred to official channels. All refugees would be processed through proper immigration procedures. All financial irregularities would be investigated. Master Sergeant Kira Tennant would be administratively discharged, medical retirement, honorable conditions, no court-martial, but no acknowledgement of her service either. The K-9 unit would be reassigned, separated, scattered across different bases, never to work together again. The 8 operators who had run the network, the 3 dead, the 2 imprisoned, the 1 discharged, the 1 missing, and Tennant, would have their records sealed, classified, erased from official history. And the 423 refugees they'd saved would be quietly resettled, given asylum, allowed to disappear into America or Europe or Canada, their stories untold, their gratitude unspoken. It was justice without acknowledgement, consequence without punishment, victory without celebration. Taggart delivered the news to the K-9 unit on day 12. They listened in silence, accepted their reassignments, packed their gear. What about Tennant? Lowell asked. She's being transferred to Landstuhl, Germany, full medical care until she recovers, then discharge. Has she woken up? No. Will she? Taggart hesitated. The doctors don't know. The brain injury was severe. She might wake tomorrow. She might never wake. Can we see her before we're reassigned? No. The order is clear. No contact. Lowell nodded, saluted, turned to leave. Corporal? He stopped. Taggart's voice softened. For what it's worth, you did the right thing. At Outpost 7 Kilo, in the briefing room, all of it, you kept a promise. That matters. Does it, sir? It does to 423 people. And to the 8 who paid for it? Taggart had no answer. The K-9 unit was separated the next day, Reeves to Germany, Winslow to Japan, Pike to Fort Bragg, Ibarra to Kuwait, Corvin to Fort Hood, Lowell to Quantico. They said goodbye to their dogs, the Malinois who'd stood with them, who'd been part of Protocol 6, who'd helped save 37 lives. And they went their separate ways, wondering if Tennant would ever wake, wondering if the families would ever be safe, wondering if it had all been worth it. 6 months passed. Lowell was teaching basic K-9 handling at Quantico when he got the email. Subject line, she's awake, no signature, no explanation. Just an address in Stuttgart, Germany, a refugee processing center, and a time, 1400 hours, Saturday. He requested leave, got on a plane, crossed the Atlantic with no idea what he'd find. The refugee center was concrete and glass, institutional, cold, nothing welcoming about it except the people inside. Families waiting for asylum, children learning new languages, adults trying to start over. Lowell walked through the main entrance at 1357. A receptionist directed him to classroom 3. He found it, stopped outside. Through the window, he saw 47 children, different ages, different backgrounds, all sitting at desks, all learning English from a young woman at the front of the room. The woman was Afghan, mid-20s, confident. She wrote vocabulary words on a whiteboard while the children copied them into notebooks. One of the children looked up, saw Lowell, gasped. Corporal Brennan, Marwa, 8 years old. The girl who'd held Tennant's dog tags in the underground chamber. She jumped up, ran to the door. The teacher tried to stop her, but Marwa was already in the hallway, throwing her arms around Lowell. You came! You came! Hey, Marwa. Yeah, I came. Sergeant Kira said you would. She said if I waited here, someone would come. Lowell knelt down. Tenant is here? Yes, she come last month. She help us. She... Marwa looked back at the classroom, at the teacher. She not in uniform now, but she's still helping. Where is she? Outside, in the garden. She go there every day. She sit and she think. Lowell stood. Can you show me? Marwa led him through the building, past offices, past dormitories, past common areas filled with refugees rebuilding their lives. Out a back door to a small garden, benches, plants, a few trees, and sitting on a bench, facing away from them, a woman. Civilian clothes, jeans, plain shirt, no uniform, no rank, no indication she'd ever been military except for the way she sat. Straight, alert, aware. Her hair was longer than Lowell remembered, her face thinner. A cane leaned against the bench beside her. Mobility issues from the IED blast. Marwa ran ahead. Sergeant Kira, look who come. The woman turned, and Lowell saw her face for the first time since Outpost 7 Kilo. Kira Tennant looked older, tired, but alive, conscious, aware. Her eyes met his. Recognition flashed. Then something else. Relief? Regret? He couldn't tell. Corporal Lowell, she said quietly. Her voice was rough, damaged vocal cords still healing. Master Sergeant Tennant, he came to attention, saluted. She didn't return it. I'm not a Master Sergeant anymore. Yes, ma'am, I heard. She gestured to the bench. Sit. He sat. Marwa climbed onto Tennant's lap. The girl chattered in a mix of English and Pashto. Tennant listened patiently, answered in broken Pashto, smiled when Marwa showed her a drawing from class. She's doing well, Tennant said to Lowell. I can see that. All 37 are. Processing went faster than expected. Most of them will have asylum within 3 months. That's good. It is. They sat in silence, watching Marwa run back to her classroom, watching other refugee children play in the garden, watching a world that didn't know what Tennant had sacrificed to build it. I heard about the discharge, Lowell said finally. Yes, I'm sorry. Don't be. I knew the cost. Did you? Did you know you'd lose everything? Tennant looked at him. Her eyes were calm, clear. I didn't lose everything. I lost a career. That's different. They erased your record, buried what you did. Good. The refugees don't need attention. They need safety, anonymity, a chance to disappear. But you deserved recognition. The network deserved to end. Tennant's voice was firm, quiet. It was necessary when it existed, but it shouldn't have been necessary. That's the real problem. Lowell stared at her. You're not angry? No. You're not bitter? No. Why not? She was quiet for a long time. Then she pulled something from her pocket. Dog tags. The ones Marwa had been holding. The ones with "she keeps her promises" scratched on the back. Because this matters more than anger, more than bitterness, more than my career. She turned the tags over in her hand. Marwa's uncle died saving my life. I promised him I'd protect his family. I did. That's all that matters. What about the other protocols, 7 through 23? Official channels took them over. Some are progressing, some are stalled, some have been canceled. And you're okay with that? I don't have a choice. You could fight it, appeal, go public. Tennant shook her head. Going public puts refugees at risk, draws attention they don't need, creates political ammunition that could shut down even the official programs. She pocketed the dog tags. No, better to stay quiet. Let the system work, even if it works slowly. Lowell felt something shift in his understanding. You're still protecting them. Always. Even now. Even without the military. Even without authority. I don't need authority to keep a promise. He looked at her. Really looked. At the woman who had built an empire in secret and watched it crumble without complaint. Who'd sacrificed everything and called it necessary. Who'd lost her career and said it didn't matter. The unit asked me to tell you something, he said. If I ever saw you again, what? That we'd do it again, all of it. Protocol 6, the extraction, the investigation, the separation. We'd make the same choice. Tennant's eyes softened. You shouldn't. You still have careers. We have careers because you trained us, because you showed us what matters. We're not going to forget that. You should, for your own good. With respect, ma'am, that's not your decision. She almost smiled. Almost. You sound like me. You trained me well. They sat in silence again, longer this time, comfortable. Finally, Tennant spoke. There's something you should know, something I didn't include in the files. What? Protocol 7, the one in Syria. I saw the folder, 14 families. Schoolteacher named Yasmin. They're out. Lowell turned to her sharply. What? They were extracted 3 months ago, through official channels. The State Department finally approved the visas. All 14 families are in Turkey now, waiting for final asylum processing. How do you know this? I have contacts, people who update me, people who remember the network. The network is shut down. The official network is shut down, but the people who believed in it are still there, still working, still keeping promises. Lowell understood. You're still running operations. I'm staying informed. That's not the same thing. It's close enough. He should have been shocked, angry, concerned. But all he felt was recognition. Of course she was still involved. Of course she couldn't just walk away. Of course the promise mattered more than the rules. Does Taggart know? Probably. He's smarter than he looks. Will he stop you? He hasn't yet. Why not? Tennant looked out at the garden, at the children playing, at the families healing. Because he understands something that most people don't, that sometimes the system fails. And when it fails, people like us have to fill the gap, even if it costs us everything. Her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, looked at the screen. Her expression didn't change, but Lowell saw something in her eyes. Focus, purpose. I have to go, she said, standing, using the cane for support. Where? Appointment. With who? She didn't answer, just started walking toward the building, stopped, looked back. Lowell, ma'am, thank you for completing Protocol 6, for protecting the unit, for being willing to pay the cost. You trained us for it. I trained you for a lot of things, not all of which you should use. She turned away, but I'm glad you used that one. She walked inside, left him sitting on the bench, wondering what appointment she had, wondering who she was meeting, wondering what promises she was keeping, now that she had no authority to keep them. He sat there for 20 minutes. Then Marwa came back outside, carrying something. A tablet. Sergeant Kira say give you this. Say you understand when you see. She handed him the tablet, ran back inside. Lowell looked at the screen. It showed an email. No sender name, no subject, just a message. Protocol 15 complete. 9 families from Iraq extracted to Jordan. Official asylum granted. Contact sends thanks. Requests to know if Protocol 16 possible. 12 families. Yemen, high risk, low probability. Awaiting guidance. Below the message, a single line. System still works, people still kept, promises still matter. Continue? At the bottom, a cursor blinked, waiting for a response. Lowell stared at the choice Tennant had given him. The same choice she'd faced. The same choice that had cost her everything. He could respond, could say yes, could continue the network even without official sanction, could become what Tennant had been, or he could walk away, report what he'd learned, protect his career, save himself from her fate. The cursor blinked, patient, waiting. He thought about Marwa, about the 37 families from Protocol 6, about the 14 from Protocol 7, about the 9 from Protocol 15, about the hundreds already saved, about the thousands still waiting. He thought about Tennant, about the cost she'd paid, about the price she'd continue paying, about the promises she'd keep until she couldn't anymore. He thought about his career, about his future, about the choice between safety and honor. The cursor blinked. He made his choice. 3 weeks later, Master Sergeant Colette Reeves sat in her quarters at Landstuhl Medical Center, medical instructor now, teaching field trauma techniques, bored, restless, missing the unit. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number, text message. Protocol 16 requires medical expertise. 12 families, 6 children under 5, 2 pregnant women, 1 elder with cardiac issues, extraction route through hostile territory, risk level extreme. Interested? No signature, no explanation. But she knew who sent it. She could ignore it, delete it, pretend she never saw it. Or she could respond. She responded. Sergeant First Class Fletcher Winslow was conducting veterinary inspections at Yokota Air Base when his email pinged. Personal account, encrypted message. Protocol 17 needs large animal expertise. Contact has livestock that must travel with family. 8 families total. Afghanistan to Pakistan. Needs someone who understands animal transport under fire. You taught K9 tactics. Can you adapt? He could report it, tell his commanding officer. Distance himself from the network. Or he could remember why he joined it in the first place. He remembered. Boys Specialist Dashiell Pike was running communications training at Fort Bragg when his laptop showed a notification. Hidden partition. Encrypted file. One he'd thought was deleted. Protocol 18 requires cyber support. Contact is in Damascus. Internet access limited. Need secure channel established. Need data extraction from hostile servers. Need someone who thinks like Tenant taught us. You available? He could wipe the drive, destroy the evidence, protect himself. Or he could protect the people who'd trusted them. He chose the people. So, Sergeant Nala Ibarra was teaching explosives detection in Kuwait when a package arrived. No return address. Inside, a burner phone, 1 contact saved, 1 message waiting. Protocol 19 involves minefield crossing. 6 families trapped in disputed territory. Need safe route mapped, need detection expertise that doesn't exist in official channels, need someone who remembers the promise. You in? She could turn it over to security, let them trace it, let them shut it down. Or she could remember the faces of the children from Protocol 6. She remembered. Private First Class Ember Corvin was processing administrative paperwork at Fort Hood when an envelope appeared on her desk. Hand-delivered. No name. Inside, a single photograph, Marwa, smiling, holding a diploma from the refugee center. On the back, handwritten, because someone kept their promise. Protocol 20 needs young energy, fresh perspective, someone who hasn't forgotten why we do this. Interested? She was the youngest, the newest, the one with the most to lose. She was also the one who'd stood at Outpost 7 Kilo and refused to evacuate. She hadn't changed. The K9 unit reformed in silence. Not officially, not publicly, not in any way that could be tracked or documented or stopped. But they reformed, different locations, different assignments, different lives, same mission, same promise, same cost. They worked through encrypted channels, dead drops, burner phones, meeting only when necessary, never acknowledging the network existed. They completed Protocol 16. 12 families from Yemen extracted to Egypt, official asylum pending. They completed Protocol 17. 8 families from Afghanistan moved through Pakistan, livestock included, no casualties. They completed Protocol 18. Damascus contacts secured, data extracted. 23 targets identified and eliminated through official drone strikes. Contact family relocated to Turkey. They completed Protocol 19. Minefield mapped. Safe route established. 6 families crossed in darkness. All survived. They completed Protocol 20. Fresh perspective applied. New methods developed. Bureaucracy bypassed through unconventional channels. Results delivered. And in Stuttgart, Kira Tennant watched the progress on a tablet screen. Not directing, not ordering, just observing. Making sure the system she'd built still worked without her. She walked with a cane now. Permanent nerve damage from the IED. Headaches from the traumatic brain injury. Scars that would never fully heal. But she walked to the refugee center every day, helped process asylum applications, taught English to children, sat with families who had lost everything and were trying to rebuild. And once a week, she met with contacts. People who remembered the network, people who still believed in keeping promises, people who updated her on protocols she was no longer officially connected to. She'd lost her rank, her career, her official authority. But she'd kept her promise. 423 people could testify to that. Soon it would be 500, then 600, then more. Because the system still worked, the network still existed. The promise still mattered, even if nobody acknowledged it, even if nobody celebrated it, even if nobody knew. General Taggart sat in his office at the Pentagon reviewing classified reports. The Ghost Shepherd network had been officially shut down 18 months ago. All operators accounted for, all protocols transferred, all refugees processed. The file on his desk said so. But Taggart wasn't stupid. He saw the pattern. The sudden approvals of long-stalled asylum cases. the unexpected extraction successes in hostile territories, the refugee families appearing in safe countries with no clear chain of custody. He saw the signature, the methodology, the precision. Someone was still running the network. Someone was still keeping the promises. He could investigate, could trace the pattern, could identify the operators and shut them down permanently. He opened a drawer, pulled out a folder. Inside were photographs. 37 Afghan refugees, the ones from Protocol 6, the ones who had been extracted from Outpost 7 Kilo. He looked at their faces, at the children, at the mothers, at the elders, at the lives saved because someone had kept a promise. He closed the folder, put it back in the drawer, locked it. Then he deleted the report about suspicious asylum approvals. Didn't forward it to CIA, didn't flag it for investigation, didn't do anything except erase it from the system. Some promises were worth protecting, even if protecting them meant looking the other way, even if it meant violating his own orders, even if it meant becoming complicit. He'd made his choice at Outpost 7 Kilo when he'd helped execute Protocol 6. He'd make it again now. Some things mattered more than regulations. Some people deserved to be saved. Some promises couldn't be broken. Not by bureaucracy, not by politics, not by systems that moved too slow or cared too little. He closed his laptop, left his office, and never mentioned the Ghost Shepherd network again. 2 years after Outpost 7 Kilo fell, Brennan Lowell stood in a cemetery in Virginia. Small ceremony, private, few attendees. They were burying one of the Ghost Shepherd network operators, the one who had been dishonorably discharged, the one who'd been living in a homeless shelter, the one who'd died of complications from injuries sustained during an unauthorized extraction 5 years earlier. No military honors, no flag, no acknowledgement of service. Just a grave, a marker, a handful of people who remembered. Lowell placed a challenge coin on the headstone. So did Reeves, and Winslow, and Pike, and Ibarra, and Corvin. 6 coins from 6 handlers who had continued what this operator had started. At the edge of the cemetery, a woman stood, civilian clothes, cane, watching from a distance. Kira Tennant. She didn't approach, didn't speak, just stood there, bearing witness, honoring a promise made years ago to someone who'd paid the ultimate cost. After the ceremony, after the others had left, Lowell walked over to her. "I didn't know you'd be here," he said. "I knew him. Worked with him on Protocol 3. He was good, dedicated. He deserved better. He got court-martialed. He got honor. That's better than medals." They stood in silence, looking at the fresh grave, at the coins glinting in sunlight, at the marker that told only part of the story. "How many protocols are left?" Lowell asked quietly. 7, 8 if you count the new one that came in last week. "Will we finish them?" "I don't know. Depends on resources, on luck, on how long we can operate before someone shuts us down permanently." "And if they do shut us down?" Tennant looked at him. Her eyes were clear, calm, certain. "Then someone else will start it again, because the need doesn't stop. The promises don't expire. The people don't stop needing help just because we're not there to give it. Is that enough? Knowing someone else might continue? It has to be." Lowell nodded, understanding. The work was bigger than any one person, bigger than any one network, bigger than any one promise. It was a system, an idea, a commitment that transcended individuals, and it would continue, in some form, by some people, until the promises were kept or the people keeping them were all dead. "Protocol 21, Tennant said suddenly. "Libya, 17 families. They have been waiting 2 years. Official channels denied them. They're running out of time. What do you need?" "Everything. People, resources, risk tolerance. It's the most dangerous extraction yet." "When?" 3 months. Maybe less." Lowell looked at the grave, at the operator who'd died keeping a promise, at the cost that had already been paid, at the cost that would continue to be paid. "I'm in. You could die. So could they. Your career is already over. I'm just choosing how it ends." Tennant almost smiled. "You really did learn from me. You were a good teacher. I was a terrible teacher. I taught you to break rules, to violate orders, to risk everything for people you've never met. You taught us that some things matter more than rules, that some promises can't be broken, that some people are worth saving even if saving them destroys us. And you think that's a good lesson?" Lowell looked at her, at the woman who'd lost everything and kept going, who'd sacrificed her career and continued the mission, who'd been erased from official records but lived on in the lives she'd saved. Yes, he said, I think it's the only lesson that matters. Tennant was quiet for a long time. Then she pulled out her phone, showed him a message. Protocol 22, Syria, 21 families. Protocol 23, Iraq, 14 families. Both critical, both denied by official channels, both desperate. 2 protocols at once? We'll need to split the unit. High risk, low support, minimal extraction routes. We'll do it. You're sure? I'm sure. She pocketed the phone. Then let's get to work. They walked out of the cemetery together, not as commander and subordinate, not as master sergeant and corporal, but as 2 people who'd made the same promise, who'd accepted the same cost, who'd chosen honor over career and would pay for that choice until there was nothing left to pay with. Behind them, the grave held its silent vigil. Ahead of them, families waited for rescue. Between them, a promise that wouldn't break, couldn't break, not while there were still people willing to keep it, not while there were still lives to save, not while there was still breath in their bodies and choices left to make. The Ghost Shepherd network was officially dead, but the promise lived on. In every extraction, every risk, every sacrifice, in every life saved by people who'd lost everything to save them, in every choice made by soldiers who understood that some things were worth dying for, and some promises were worth keeping, no matter the cost.